It's not often you see the foundation of a political party crack in real time, folks, but that is exactly what just happened on the floor of the House of Representatives. And let me tell you, it is a big deal. It's a really big deal. 20 Republicans, 20 of them, just looked at the leader of their party, they looked at the President of the United States, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to strip the rights of working people. And they crossed the aisle to join Democrats and save the unions. And that's not something you see every day. Not a joke. Welcome back to I Am Your Host. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this historic vote, I need you to do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, because we're talking about the things that matter to your kitchen table, to your pocketbook, and we need you in this fight. So join us. Now, here's the deal, folks. We have been talking for a long time about the dignity of work, about the idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to get ahead. You ought to be able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. And that's what unions are all about. They built the middle class, and the middle class built this country. That's a fact. But for months now, we've seen an assault on that basic idea coming from the White House, coming from an administration that seems to think power is about stripping rights away from people who serve their country, federal workers, the folks at the VA taking care of our veterans, the folks at the Department of Defense, civil servants who aren't political, they're just doing their jobs, and the president signed these executive orders, just signed them with the stroke of a pen, trying to wipe out collective bargaining rights for 1 million workers, 1 million people who suddenly found themselves without a voice, without a seat at the table, and that's just wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. But yesterday, something changed. Something snapped in the House, and you had this discharge petition. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of Washington gobbledygook, but stay with me because it's important. A discharge petition is a way for the members of Congress to say to the Speaker, we don't care what you want. We don't care what the leadership wants. We are bringing this bill to the floor because it's the right thing to do. And that is hard to do, folks. It takes 218 signatures. You have to get a majority of the whole House to sign their name on a piece of paper and defy their own leadership. And usually, the majority party, the Republicans in this case, they stick together. They don't break ranks because the pressure is immense. The phone calls from the White House, the threats, the political arm twisting, it's intense. Believe me, I've been there. I know how it works. But this time, it didn't work. This time, 20 Republicans. Folks from districts where they know that union members aren't just numbers, they're neighbors. They're the people coaching Little League. They're the people in the church choir. These 20 Republicans said, enough. And they signed that petition, or they voted for the bill, the Protect America's Workforce Act, and they passed it 231 to 195, a bipartisan rebuke of the president's attempt to bust the unions. And let's be clear about what this was. It was union busting, plain and simple. The largest single act of union busting we've seen in modern history, trying to take away the rights of people to organize, to bargain for better conditions, to have a say in their workplace. You look at who these workers are. We're talking about the people at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now think about that. These are the nurses and the doctors and the support staff who take care of our heroes, the men and women who put their lives on the line for this country. And the president wanted to strip away their union rights to make it easier to fire them, to make it easier to silence them if they see something wrong, if they see waste or fraud or abuse, because that's what unions do. They give you protection so you can speak up without fear of retribution. And these Republicans, to their credit, they saw that. They understood that you can't say you support the troops and then attack the people who take care of the troops when they come home. It doesn't add up. It's malarkey. And you look at the names, people like Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, a state I know a thing or two about. He knows that in Pennsylvania, labor isn't a dirty word, it's a badge of honor. And he stood up and he said, we're not doing this. And it wasn't just him, it was a group of them, and they joined with every single Democrat. And let me tell you, the Democrats held the line, not one defected, because we know where we stand. We stand with labor. We stand with the people who built this country. This vote is a signal, folks. It's a signal that the grip of the MAGA extreme on the Republican Party might be slipping just a little bit, just a crack in the dam. Because when you start messing with people's livelihoods, when you start messing with their ability to put food on the table, politics goes out the window and reality sets in. They tried to say this was about national security. That's the line they used. They said unions are a threat to national security. Give me a break. Come on. Since when is a nurse at a VA hospital having a union a threat to national security? It's insulting. It's insulting to the intelligence of the American people. These workers take an oath to the Constitution, same as the president, same as me, same as any member of Congress, and they take that oath seriously. And to suggest that because they want a fair wage and safe working conditions, they are somehow a security risk is just nonsense, and these 20 Republicans called it out. Now, what happens next? That's the big question. The bill goes to the Senate, and we know the Senate is a different beast. The filibuster, the 60-vote threshold, it's tough. I know it's tough. I spent 36 years there. I know how the place works. But this vote in the House sends a message that you can't ignore. It puts the pressure on the senators. It puts the pressure on the leadership over there to decide, are you going to stand with the workers? Are you going to stand with the people who actually make the government run? Or are you going to stand with a political agenda that is about concentrating power in the hands of the few? That's the choice. And for the folks at home, you might be thinking, well, I'm not a federal worker. Why does this matter to me? Let me tell you why it matters. It matters because when you attack the rights of one group of workers, you attack the rights of all workers. It's a slippery slope. If they can take away collective bargaining from the federal employees, who's next? Is it the teachers? Is it the firefighters? Is it the auto workers? We saw what happened when we stood with the UAW. We saw that when workers have power, the whole economy does better, wages go up, benefits improve, communities get stronger, Main Street does better, not just Wall Street. So this fight is your fight, whether you have a union card in your pocket or not. And the fact that we saw bipartisanship, actual bipartisanship, in a House that has been so divided, so dysfunctional, that tells you something. It tells you that there are still people in Washington who listen to their constituents, who listen to the people back home. And that's a good thing. That's how the system is supposed to work. We've got a long way to go, folks. We're not out of the woods yet. The president can still try to veto this if it gets to his desk. He can still try to push these orders through the courts. And the courts have been a battleground, too. We've seen the appeals courts going back and forth on this. But the legislative branch, the People's House, has spoken, and they said no. They said no to stripping rights, no to silencing workers, no to the idea that you can just rule by decree. It's about checks and balances. It's about the Constitution. And it's about respect for the work. My dad used to say, Joey, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about your place in the community. And taking away a person's right to organize is taking away a piece of that dignity. And we cannot let that happen. So I want you to pay attention to what happens in the Senate now. I want you to call your senators, let them know where you stand, tell them to follow the lead of these 20 Republicans and the Democrats in the House, tell them to pass the Protect America's Workforce Act, because this isn't about red states or blue states. It's about the United States. It's about who we are as a people. We don't leave people behind. We don't kick people when they're down. We lift them up. That's what unions do. They lift people up. And seeing the GOP, at least a part of it, recognize that, well, that gives me a little bit of hope, folks, a little bit of optimism. And I've always been an optimist. You have to be to do this job. You have to believe that better days are ahead. And maybe, just maybe, this vote is a sign that we're starting to remember who we are. We are a nation of workers. We are a nation of builders. And we are a nation that believes in fairness. So keep your eyes on this, folks. Don't let them sweep it under the rug, because the other side, the folks who want to crush these unions, they're not going to give up. They've got the special interests. They've got the big money. They've got the lobbyists. But we've got something stronger. We've got the people. We've got the votes. And when we stand together, there's not a single thing we can't do. Not a single thing. So let's keep the faith. Let's keep pushing. And let's make sure that every worker in this country, federal, state, private sector, everyone has the right to organize, the right to bargain, and the right to a fair shake. That's the American promise. And we're going to keep it. Thanks for tuning in, folks.